I'm Lizzie Brock. I'm an English instructor, and for the past year, I've been working as the English department sequence redesign coordinator with some release time. So the English department has completed a redesign of our program that has shortened the sequence. And does everybody know what acceleration is in this room? You guys, I think, are pretty knowledgeable. Okay, so we had, in a sense, we started acceleration 15 years ago when we combined our English 90 and English 9 courses into an integrated reading and writing course, which some schools have still not done. But obviously, reading and writing belong together, so we did that years ago. About 5 years ago, we began 2 optional accelerated courses, English 95, which changed names a couple times, and English 96 1A, which was sort of both preparing students for transfer level and transfer level in the same bucket. Since then, we've been participating throughout the last 5 years in ongoing trainings with the California Acceleration Project, which helps instructors really develop pedagogy based on an accelerated model. The handouts I gave you, the one page has one page that I took from the California Acceleration Project that describes what acceleration is and what the pedagogy looks like in the bold area. And on the back is what our sequence used to look like and what it will look like next fall. And then the one with the staples is our acceleration project, our ALP program, just won an award for excellent program. So what we've done in the last year is we've simplified and shortened our sequence even more. For the most part, it will now no longer be optional whether you take an accelerated course. So there is a small caveat to that, but for the most part, all students will be taking English 86, 88, and then 1A. Most students place into 88, if you look at the chart, or what is now 95, which will become something different, but most students will place in there. So they're only 1 semester away from completing transfer level. I'm sorry, they're only 1 year away from completing transfer level English. There are somewhat fewer units and somewhat less time with this model. The exception is that there will be, for a while anyway, we'll see how it goes, an 88A and B that will do them in 3 units, and there will not be many offerings of that. That was basically because some of the concerns from the department were that Puente students perhaps and night students perhaps would not be able to take 6 units of English at a time. From the research office let us know that there are only about 5% of students taking English are only taking 6 units or fewer at a time. So it's a small population, but because if you went to the Puente presentation, I think last week, they've been very successful with their model, and they were hesitant to change it. Those students also have to take a counseling class at the same time as English, so that would bump them up to 9 units of required courses there. So that's the caveat. We're going to try to make sure that the right students are signing up for that, meaning the students who really don't have time, so that most students are geared to this sequence, which our research, nationwide research has shown is much more effective in getting all students through effectively, and in particular equity-focused populations. The second part of it is the pedagogy. So from this semester and moving forward, we're focusing on getting instructors really ready to teach these classes, because the pedagogy is somewhat different. And some people say, oh, it's just good pedagogy. And in some ways that is true, and people feel like they've been doing this all along. In other ways, it is something very distinct. It includes one thing, it's inquiry driven, it's backwards design, so you look at where you want the students to be at the very end of the sequence, and then you work backward of how they get there step by step. The whole course has a driving question, not just a theme, but the students are actually investigating an issue throughout the semester. So they develop their schema on a particular issue and become experts in that area. One of the other tenets of acceleration is attention to the affective domain, which is the most non-affective way of saying that it's about their sense of belonging, how they feel in the classroom, their relationships with the other students and the teacher and the tutors, and yeah, and their sense of purpose and motivation because of that. So that's the pedagogy part that we need to, that we are continuing to want to train faculty on. Up until this point, only people who've gone through a CAP training or kind of our in-house version of a CAP training, California Acceleration Project, have taught the class. But now there will be more classes offered, and most of the department will now be teaching these classes. So we're working on the pedagogy. We've continued to have about 4 to 7 faculty every semester go through the CAP training, present to the department. We had another speaker on nonverbal communication and inspiring and motivating students. It was a day-long workshop, and we're going to be continuing to do that and thinking about how we can best do that. I mean, I think the most interesting part of our story probably is how is that we moved a big ship in about a year. We got more people on board, informed about what acceleration is, had lots of inclusive process as a department to make this decision together. And I think in the end, most people are pretty satisfied with the results, perhaps, hopefully. And that's just a lot of what the effort went into, was creating a process and disseminating the research and getting the department to really talk about it and move forward. So the course outlines are written. The new sequence will go into effect in next fall. It will be messy at first because the old sequence will remain. Counselors are going to be pissed, but it's going to be complex and messy for a while, and hopefully soon it will straighten out. We've also, we're piloting multiple measures placement this semester, and doing a particular pilot where students now testing into 96 are going to have the option to bump to 1A in the spring, and so we'll see how well that works. The idea is with a 4-unit 1A, we may be able to bring in students who hadn't placed exactly at 1A, who maybe are more 96 placers, so that those people who are already placing close to 1A could get into 1A and be in transfer level English right away.